Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes! Yes, unfortunately, I would have loved to talk about Bill and Ted Face the Music. I am very excited to see this new film. Unfortunately, there is still no release date for it in Austria, so I don't know if it will come to the cinemas at all. I don't know. So I haven't seen that film yet. If you have, I'm very jealous of you. But and if you leave comments, please don't spoil the film for me. Instead, I recently purchased the new special edition on Amazon where they've got both films combined. I was very happy to get this actually because for years I was looking for a Blu-ray of the second part of the Bogus Journey. Wasn't able to do so, and about a month ago or so, in preparation for the new film, I thought, right now surely there will be something out there, and right I was. They brought out this new box set with both films in them, and last night I watched Excellent Adventure. I haven't rewatched Bogus Journey yet, which will be interesting. It'll be for the first time I'll see it in HD. I'm really looking forward to that. But I watched Excellent Adventure. And that as well, I'm not sure if I've seen that in HD, it's actually very nice. So quality wise, very happy to say that it's great to see them in HD. So, I mean, there's not much to talk about with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Most of you will probably have seen this film. I can say, I mean, I won't spoil it as usual. I won't be including any spoilers. But I definitely love this film. It's a great film. I would describe it as one of the best feel-good films. It's really wholesome. You'd have to be a very, very cynical person, in my opinion, if you watch this film and you don't at the end have a smile, a grin on your face. It's just so much fun from start to finish. I mean, you've got these two goofy guys, Bill and Ted, they're struggling in school. What I like about the characters is that I don't think they're cliched really. I mean, yes, they're very goofy, but they're obviously not stupid. I mean, you can debate about that. I mean, they're not the brightest guys, but they're clearly not outright stupid. And what I like about them is I love just their approach to everything and everyone, just how they conduct themselves. They're very friendly and they're always polite actually, when you think about it. So it might sound silly, but I really enjoy them as role models actually. The language is a bit strange, of course, and they like to throw in very odd words into their conversations, but generally speaking, when they're sitting outside the Circle K, for instance, and they're asking just strangers about the various historical figures, they have this wonderful naivete about them, and they just seem to have such a positive outlook on life, which I think particularly now is something that's helpful for all of us, to try and maintain a positive outlook. I'm a fan of heavy metal, so obviously that part of the film works very well for me. There's a lot of rock music and heavy metal-esque music going on. Brilliant for me, I enjoy all of it. It's good quality stuff. A lot of guitar music especially, and to me the guitar is one of the most emotional instruments you can have. I'm very biased in that way, and so that works on so many levels as well. To briefly talk about the plot, in case you haven't seen the film and don't know what it's about, so these two goofy teenagers, they're about to fail in their history class. And the problem with that is that, so they're Bill and Ted, and Ted's father, that's Keanu Reeves' character. His father, if he fails the class, is going to send him off to military academy. And this would be terrible because Bill and Ted, they have got a band, it's called Wild Stallions, and the music that they are going to create will eventually lead to not just world but universal peace. They explain that even communication with cats and dogs becomes possible, and even they live in harmony due to the music that these two guys are going to create. And in order to do so, they have to stay together. So you have George Carlin's character, his name's Rufus, he's from the 27th century if I'm not mistaken. He gets sent back in time to provide them with a phone booth with which they can time travel. And they use that to hopefully get a good mark in their history class. I won't go into details about the various shenanigans that they have and all the different people they encounter, but I think it's brilliant. I do have to say, as this is a review, I need to stay fair, of course, as much as possible. And yes, you could say that the historical figures that they bump into, it is very superficial, cliched even in some cases. They could have used this opportunity, obviously, to actually put some educational value in there. Okay, it wasn't really the goal of the film, I get that, it's meant as a comedy, of course, but again, to stay fair, that is a criticism I would have. And although the joke is great where it's used, an Iron Maiden pops up, and obviously it's used as a reference to the band, but that again is also something. Iron Maidens, they were not existent in medieval times, although of course it's shown everywhere. But that's an example for something that they could have changed to make it better. But what I particularly like is, even with the historical figures, it's all so much fun because Bill and Ted, they won't pronounce the names correctly. Like you have Socrates, who they call Socrates throughout the film, and that's really amusing. Or Sigmund Freud, they call Freud. So you have various things like that. So I feel that the script is excellent in that way. No opportunity is left untouched to just turn wee things into a nice comedic effect. Special effects are something you can talk about. It does involve time travel, so there are special effects in here. They did not have a big budget. I feel that the special effects are fine for the times and what they had available to them. Obviously by today's standards are not great, especially when you see the phone booth flying through this tunnel. It's very interesting actually. As a British person or a sci-fi fan, you look at this and you go, this is taken from Doctor Who. I read up today actually that the writers and people that made this film, they had no idea about Doctor Who. I mean, when you think back, Doctor Who now of course is huge, and it was also in its first run in the 20th century, but mostly in Britain, not really outside of Britain in that time. This film was made in 1988, I believe. And so it doesn't surprise me that at that time they had no clue about Doctor Who, but it is funny because you have the phone booth, the Doctor obviously has his box as well, the blue box, and he also travels through these time corridors, so it's very interesting, you have these similarities. I do feel though that they could have made the film a bit longer. It's very, very short, I think it's just 1.5 hours, and there's a lot happening in the film. It's not too convoluted, but I do feel that they could have taken their time in some locations or in some scenes to maybe just expand a bit more, and especially with the historical characters, to give them more context and more character. More things to do just to explain them better. As I said before, it could have been used as a learning opportunity as well if you added some more in. I did read up that the initial cut of the film was actually nearly an hour longer. That seems to have been lost over the years, which is unfortunate. Yes, that's my opinion. I do feel that it could be a bit more fleshed out so that these historical characters don't appear so cliched in the exact way we know them or typically hear about them. The most obvious thing that you should talk about when reviewing this film is of course the chemistry between Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves, Bill and Ted, which is just excellent. Sorry for the pun, but it's true in my opinion. The two work so well together. It's not really hard to believe that they're good friends, and as far as I know, after this film they did become friends and still are to this day, of course. And their chemistry is excellent. I love their speech. Yes, it's very goofy and everything, but I just love it. I just love everything about it when they're describing historical figures as dudes and all these things. I think it's great. Obviously, you've got the quotes, and that is one thing I really need to touch upon. I did talk about the positive attitude of the film, and I think that the saying, the quote, "Be excellent to each other," is probably one of the best in the history of film. Honestly, this is my real opinion, because it sums up so well what being human should be about. Be nice to each other, be great to each other. It's not just be nice, but really be excellent to each other. If everyone followed a philosophy along those lines, the world would definitely be a better place. And like I say, just look at the two in the film. They're obviously, I would imagine that they'd probably be bullied at school because they're goofy and they seem to be the oddballs, you know, but they still maintain such a positive outlook on everything. And I think that's a great message to send to people. Obviously it's a product of its time, and it is funny to think about this came after obviously Back to the Future, so you can see that there are a lot of similarities of course, but I do feel that Bill and Ted fills its own niche, and as is evident, the film was a financial success as well. That's why we have sequels to this day. So it definitely had an audience, although I read it was very interesting to see that back then they weren't too sure about the audience, so they expected the film to either be a success or a complete flop because it is so niche. But yes, if you need a feel-good movie, a film to put on maybe, I don't know, a depressing Sunday if it's raining outside and you want to cheer up, something along those lines, I feel you can't go wrong with Bill and Ted. Watch it with the whole family, why not? It is a bit dated, so from the 80s. They do actually, this Blu-ray version, it does actually at the start have a wee disclaimer saying that it's basically a product of its time, so please, there may be one or two issues that people may find offensive. Which is, by the way, is something that I find is great. I don't think things should be censored. They should be put into context and explained. At the very start of the film, they give you a warning. Obviously it would be helpful if they detailed it a bit more so that you know what they're referring to. I'm pretty sure I know what they were referring to, but still, if you think about maybe, I don't know, a younger person, teenager watching this and maybe not being quite so clear about what it is they're talking about, would be helpful to put that in there as well. A very, very high recommendation for me, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and also Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I enjoy both films very, very much. I'm pretty sure I can recommend Bill and Ted Face the Music as well, but again, in the sense of fairness, I can't really do that until I've seen the film, which hopefully will be soon. So keep your fingers crossed that I will eventually get to see it. I will also review it for the channel once it is finally released. Thank you for watching the video. If you want to, please leave a like and share it around. Subscribe to the channel for further reviews, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.